Hey everyone, I'm Todd Wayne along with Ronnie Heelan. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Paranomaly Podcast. Home for all things paranormal, supernatural, at least that's what we're trying to do. So coming up on this episode of Paranomaly, we're talking to Alice Stevens, and she's the owner and founder of Sunset Paranormal, as she also works as a case manager for Get That Ghost Tennessee. As she took classes at the Rhine Research Center for Field Investigations in Parapsychology. She's currently writing a book and will be teaching classes on ghost hunting after her book is published, because it kind of goes along with, her teachings. So now she's been into the paranormal since she was 15, and she's had some crazy experiences along the way. So it's going to be a good one, folks. So grab yourself a drink and a snack. Turn the lights off on the way back. Find yourself a nice comfy spot and enjoy this episode of Paranomaly. Stay with us, folks. So, Alice, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? What got you into the paranormal? And we'll just go from there.
So when I was young, which I can't say too much because some of it's not really my story to tell, but when I was younger, one of a friend of mine had gotten into some things that they didn't really know what they were doing. They were dabbling, stuff. And, so if you don't really know what you're doing, you're probably just better off not doing it, But let's put it this way: that they're messing with some stuff, and they brought some stuff into their home and into our home.
What kind of stuff?
Things like that. Let's put it this way: we definitely think something was some type of malevolent spirit.
Okay.
So I can't really say too much because it's kind of a personal thing.
I feel that.
Yeah. So, but so there was some stuff going on actually in our home as well that had to do with that. And there was some things that had happened where, we were seeing shadow figures at night and things happening and hearing like moaning sounds and like scratching on the walls and different things like that. And so, things moving around the house that shouldn't have been, normally.
Yeah.
And so, that kind of stuff, when you're a kid, that kind of stuff can be really scary,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think about it, if you're into ghost hunting, you're already into the paranormal and that kind of stuff, like, okay, that would be cool if I saw something like that. But when you're experiencing it on the other side, it's a totally different story.
Yes.
Because who really wants their house haunted? So, that's where kind of we got, I got into the paranormal in that way because I was always thinking, what was this? What was this? As a kid.
Yeah.
And then, I started kind of reading books about it, kind of getting into it. And, really
real quick, what state was that? You don't have to be specific. I'm just curious on what state you're in.
Oh, so that was in Delaware when I was younger. We moved to Tennessee when I was 11. And it was weird because actually something had followed us from Delaware to Tennessee.
Oh.
Yeah. And so let's just put it this way. My sister had some issues, and we have no idea still to this day how this happened, but she woke up on the back porch. It looked like she was white as a ghost, literally. And she had scratches all over her body. We couldn't figure out how she got out there, without any of us knowing, which was weird, And because there was a little trailer that we were living in at the time. Usually trailers, you can kind of feel them shaking if people are walking around, especially that one. It was kind of old. So, but we couldn't figure out, how she got out there. And then when, she woke up wrapped up in a blanket out on the porch and she had scratches all over her body.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, some really weird stuff. But we had to actually have not only her, but, our property blessed. So there's some other things, that happened that I can't really get into too much, but it's kind of after that was really when I kind of was like, okay, I was really kind of interested in why these things were happening. And so, I started just reading books about it and started, talking to my mom about it and things. And, as an adult, actually I was about 15 at the time. That's, I started, like watching the TV shows and things. Cause I remember when Ghost Hunters first started, now it's funny because my mom was like, "Oh, you should come watch the show. You're going to love it." And I was like, okay. So I came in there and, she turned it on and I was like, "You can actually do that? Like, this is the thing." Like, yeah. I was really, really interested in it. And that was, that really, I think for me, I really got into it because it's like, I've been through that. I would love to help people who've been through that. It's more of an empathy thing, so
Sure.
just trying to help people. And it can be scary at times. It can be quite intense. And so, sometimes I've had to take a step back actually. And, try to see like, am I able to handle this case? Do I need to call somebody else in,
Yeah.
do we need to call a priest, things like that. But, usually it doesn't get that bad, but sometimes you have a very rare occasion. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Nice. So after you've had these experiences and you've grown and it was like, you watched the show and you was like, wow, I want to help people too, So is that when you started Sunset Paranormal?
Actually, no, it's kind of funny. Okay, so I got into the ghost hunting stuff and I was into, reading the books, watching the TV shows. And, as kids, we were kind of dumb and doing stuff we weren't supposed to be, going into abandoned houses and things like that. And of course, I always tell people now, I'm like, don't do that. Don't make sure, you don't want to trespass on people's property, never,
Right.
Never do. But, when you're a kid, you don't think about that kind of stuff.
True.
You just
you
think
can
about
get
having
shot
fun.
in Tennessee doing that. So.
Exactly. And so, you're right. You're exactly right. But that's the thing is, I told him, I was like, I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I really want to kind of do this kind of stuff. And she's like, why don't you, look into it? Well, when I was a kid, I was looking at parapsychology and looking at all this stuff, and I realized, you can't get a degree in the States. So I was like, oh, it's never going to happen, So I kind of took a step back for a while and, kind of reevaluated everything. And it wasn't actually until recently. And I met Stephen Tango from the Ghost Hunter show at one of the conventions. And I was like, well, do you guys train? He's like, we used to train. We don't really train anymore. He's like, but he's like, you can always go to the Rhine Research Center. And that's kind of where it really started out more of, okay, let's like really get into this. Let's really help people, do something that you actually love to do.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. It's like, it might not pay the bills and it might not, really do anything, for myself as in, making any type of money. But the whole point is that, it's something that I love and I enjoy. So I really consider it more of a life purpose than I would consider as a profession. Yeah. But, it's fun and I love it. So that's kind of how I got into that. And then I started working with a buddy of mine. His name's Jason. And he has his own team called Get That Ghost Tennessee. And actually that's where we're kind of headed up there because he lives in Greenbrier as well.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, so we're going to go up there. But, I started working with him and it's kind of odd how it kind of happened because I was talking to someone. I messaged them about something because they were trying to find somebody to help them and these people in Florida. And so I was just like, oh, they're here as a team in Florida. And then I kind of gave him the stuff. And then he just messaged me. He's like, do I know you? And that's kind of how we, started talking and everything. So I became their case manager, which makes it easier.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't do home investigations until, I was like, hey, we should do home investigations, but we got to have paperwork. And we got to do this. We got to do that. And he's like, Jason's like, why are you working with me? He's like, you could be doing this for yourself. So I kind of started Sunset Paranormal only because we were totally separate. I was living in Cleveland, they're in Nashville area, and it was kind of helped because then we can kind of collab and come, meet in the middle.
Yeah.
But then, and a lot of it is mainly because, I wanted to create something to where, because some of these parapsychology classes are really expensive. I mean, they're like $200 a class.
Damn.
Yeah, they're really, really expensive. So I kind of wanted to have something to where, we can include not only classes, but also make it affordable as well as more of a hands-on experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of the classes, there's a lot of knowledge and there's a lot of teaching involved, but there's not a lot of like how to use the equipment. How do you do a baseline sweep? How do you, do any of these things? And that's where we're trying to kind of, we're wanting to use that as a teaching place to where we can kind of teach people how to really properly investigate.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of that. You don't see, and there's a lot of teams that aren't willing to train either, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of people that get into it thinking that the paranormal and ghost hunting and whatever is like you see on TV, and it's really not.
It's not.
It's
yes,
not.
Exactly.
It's pretty boring most of the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of waiting.
Yes, I don't know how many times I remember when we went to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, and we were down there, and it took me about 3.5 hours to get 5 EVPs.
See?
And that's where people don't understand. They think, oh, if something's going to be haunted, I'm going to get stuff right away, and all of this is going to happen, and it's going to be so fun. And you're right. There is a lot of waiting. Sometimes they don't talk about how it takes like 5 hours sitting on somebody's couch just trying to get a ghost to communicate with you.
Right? They just don't get that on the television shows, they have to be dramatic. The way that they edit it looks like they're getting responses right when they ask for it on command, and it doesn't work that way, people.
Exactly.
It's not like that.
Right. Yeah.
Or how everything is demonic. You know?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes.
Evil and demonic. Well, that's the moneymakers. That is what's going to get everybody. If you do you have a legit, paranormal investigation team, and you go to your website and you see just regular cases, you're not going to get tons of likes and followers. But if you start claiming demonic and evil, then it's now you're going to really rake in the people.
Yep. And then I've been doing this for a while. Most of our cases are non-disclosure too, and so you don't get a lot of cases when you're doing home investigations that people want their stuff out there. You know what I mean? You barely ever get that. And so that's where people, I think the problem, and I always tell people too, and this is where, I'm kind of harsh with it a little bit, because I tell them, I said, look, if you're coming here because you want to become famous, or you want a television show, or you want, instant gratification, you might as well not come here and try to work with us. Because it's, this is not what you it's not what you think it is. So that's where a lot of people especially and I've noticed too in the paranormal field, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I've noticed personally, like a lot of people don't want to work for women or under women on a on a paranormal team. And I think that a lot of that has to do with because of the way it kind of portrays, the television shows portray things. And it's like women can do it just as much as guys can, and it makes it easy.
Yeah. That's probably, I see a lot of women that are getting together, making their own teams.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what, isn't it that Boo Paranormal or something? There's a team full of women. And
I believe so.
Yeah. There's a lot of women teams I've noticed out there.
Yeah. And then you got the Ghost Sisters.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Ghost Sisters. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I think, there's a lot of different things going on, but, it's like a lot of people are like, well, I don't know if I want to work under a woman. And I'm like, well, I don't want to tell you then,
Right. We're not in the 1950s anymore, dude.
Yeah, exactly. But, I do think, though, is that a lot of it is that a lot of people will sign up for these types of things. Just like you said, it's not what it is on television, and people see TV and they're like, I want to go do that. But then you have people who are in it just for the fame, just for
the likes, the comments, to be popular on Facebook, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem in this field now. And the internet did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now everybody is, hey, let's go to pay-to-play places like Penhurst and Waverly and all them. And then the more people you hobnob with, because there is a ton out there that's never been on a real investigation. It's always been those places. And although that's good for, it's a social club, basically. Yeah. You're going there to socialize and to meet new people. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you cannot claim to be a paranormal investigator because you cannot investigate those places unless you rent the place out all by yourself.
Yeah,
that's
private. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and that's what, and that's the thing is too, is, we were talking about, the team that, that I work with and everything. We were talking about how, and it's expensive to rent these places out overnight.
Yes, it is.
It's not cheap. And then, you have like, Brushy Mountain's like 1,300 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Oh my
God. Wow. That's crazy.
You have places like that, which I can understand if they're like a lot larger buildings, they have to have electricity and stuff to keep, to stay on. And it's upkeep, really. It's, the money usually goes back into the place.
Sure, yes.
But, it's really, it's like, how well can you properly investigate, these places? Because even though you're renting the building for 10 hours or something, you still have people who are volunteers working there that are following you around and they're talking to you, and you really don't have a way to really do the freedom of what you really would like to do.
Right.
Like if there's a claim of a cold spot or something, I can't just run around with my anemometer or whatever and just be like, okay, I'm going to do a baseline sweep and then we'll talk in another couple of hours and then start the investigation. Because then you have your volunteers running around hovering over you.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
I would hate that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the business clients and the home clients, the residential clients, that is the ticket. But the problem is there's a lot of frauds out there.
Oh, yes.
So people they shy away now. So when I did it years ago and continued it for the longest time, it was all word of mouth. And once you have a couple of clients, those clients will be like, hey, these guys are good people. They're, not going to steal your stuff. So I always say, watch who you have in your home,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the paranormal. It's a good thing, but it has its bad sides,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of good stuff about, home investigations and things like that. And that's why that's another reason why I kind of want to teach people more about that, because it's like a lot of people are afraid to do home investigations because they don't know how to properly investigate, as well as they don't even know the legalities behind it. So it's, getting the paperwork, what type of paperwork do I have to have? Do I have to have non-disclosure? Do I have to have insurance? Do I not have to have insurance? Do I have to have, whatever, and so there's a lot of times people don't, they don't know about it. So they just kind of like, okay, no, I'm just going to do the stuff for YouTube and not get into that. But isn't that the whole point of investigation, is to help other people?
That is, yes.
Exactly. And the spirits too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, too, it's like people don't, I think a lot of people are in it for the
popularity and the fame. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just to have fun, just to experience something.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if they want to experience, they can go to like a haunted house or something,
Disney World has a really nice haunted house.
So does Busch Gardens, you can go for Hallow Scream,
So what kind of classes are covered in this parapsychology course at Rhine?
So it's a field investigation course. So they have different classes at Rhine Research Center. So if you actually go onto their website, you just Google Rhine Research Center, it'll pop up. But they have all kinds of stuff. They have the field investigations. They also have like how to awaken your intuition. It's mainly based on psychic research. So it's really kind of showing you how to, I don't know, like they have different, I don't know how to explain it other than, if you want to do like the paranormal investigation stuff, I would say to do the field investigations, because it teaches about ghosts, hauntings, apparitions, poltergeist. What's poltergeist? A lot of people think poltergeists are actually ghosts, when in reality, I mean, you can have a spirit, I guess, with that occurring, but usually, I mean, a poltergeist activity is mainly the person who has, some type of psychic, underlying psychic ability. It's not being expressed correctly. And so, you have fires being lit out of nowhere, things disappearing and reappearing in a zigzag pattern, things like that people are thinking, oh, well, it's a ghost, and all this stuff happening, even stuff like falling from the ceiling that shouldn't be there, and it was just funny. I was talking to the instructor at the Rhine Research Center, the class that I went to, and he said that one time it was raining inside somebody's house. They didn't have any sprinklers or anything. They couldn't explain it.
Boy, that's weird. That's crazy.
Right. And so this is all due to psychic ability. And a lot of people think that it's spirit activity when in fact there might not even be a ghost there.
Yeah. So it's coming from the person.
Exactly.
Or the people, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of stuff. And they kind of, in that class, they kind of go in like, what's the difference between a haunting and, just a spirit, just kind of being present. What's the difference between a poltergeist and a ghost? So they kind of teaches you how to do that, and then to learn that. But it also kind of teaches you what psi is and what telekinesis is, and how all of this kind of ties in together into the paranormal field.
Yeah.
Did they talk about aliens? That's not really their.
That's not their thing. Did y'all go into thought forms? Did y'all talk about that at all?
We did a little bit, not too much. I think a lot of it was more on just the ghosts, hauntings, apparitions. Now, one thing I did like about that was they kind of taught us, like, how does a ghost talk to you? How does it interact with you? And talk about how telepathy is a thing with spirit, because they have no body to talk to you. They have no brainstem. There's no cells. There's no mouth. Nothing. So it's more of a thought process. And so how whatever they want you to hear or see, feel, smell, whatever, then you experience it that way.
Yeah.
And so
you have to think though too. A thought form is an entity as well, but it's one that's been created by someone. Creates it by thinking it into existence, and the more the more people that believe the story that's being told
and tell the story over and over again. Yes,
it actually turns into a haunting. Now you can get rid of it. Of course, you have to unthink it. Everybody has to get it. So, I mean, it's changing. Well, for real investigators, it's changing the way you think and perceive of spirits and hauntings, because they can be.
They're manifesting it themselves. It's really
it's not a poltergeist, because we all know poltergeist is created by a person, but it's all that person. Now, this is a thought form, so it takes
a lot of people,
many people.
Yes,
I mean you can think it
into
like
existence. Like a collective manifestation.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
If you get enough people to believe it,
Maybe we can get a lot of people to say that we have $1 million, honey. And
there you go.
Think us $1 million. Okay, so you went into Rhine and you got a degree for parapsychology, and now you are.
Well, it's a certification. So the degrees in parapsychology, they no longer actually have those in the United States anymore, which is really sad, because supposedly, they consider it a dying field, really, in the United States, because it's weird, because there's so many people who are ghost hunters who are really interested in it, but not a lot of people are taking it for college courses, because you have to take psychology as well.
Yes, but here's the thing, and this, I get confused with a lot of this. If, for example, it's a fringe science. The paranormal's a fringe science, okay?
Yeah.
And nothing can be proven in the paranormal. The only thing that you rely on is somebody's experience. That you can't take that away from anybody. So if your Mel meter goes off, how do you know that wasn't a solar flare from 3 hours ago that's now hitting the Earth?
Right.
So it's a confusing thing. It really is. And I'm not saying you doing parapsychology is wrong, because it's not. Everybody can continue to learn, and I think it's great that you did. But I think that's the whole thing is where do you think the paranormal will continue to go? I mean, because really we're at a point where we can't really go anywhere else unless somebody would die and take the entire populace with them and then come back. That's the only way we would know for sure what's on the other side. Now you can personal validation. I don't even know how you would get personal validation because you don't know.
and that's the thing too. You can't take, anything in parapsychology, and you can't use anything from the lab and bring it into the field.
Right. So I don't think it's not a dying field at all. It's very much growing. And I see a lot of people pushing boundaries in the paranormal, which is fantastic. But
concerning universities are thinking it's a dying field. That's the problem.
Right. Because I mean, really, it's like we said, it's a fringe science. So, and it can't be totally proven. Like a psychiatrist or sociologist, they know from years and years of research that things do work, but we can't prove it in this field. And it's unfortunate because everybody wants that piece of, and here's the thing. I get a voice, an EVP, and I say, well, where did the voice come from? Am I saying that it's fake? No, I'm just saying that it's plausible because I can't tell somebody, hey, this EVP is without a doubt 100% paranormal, because you can't. So it's tough. It's a tough field. Trying to help people and getting the validation that you moved a spirit out, that to me would be a validation. If somebody's having some kind of paranormal events in their homes, you go in and you do your thing and you come back out and they say, hey, we haven't had any troubles. Well, that would be validation.
Right.
So it's just very confusing. And I just want people that listens, because there's a lot of blind believers out there.
Oh yeah.
And they believe every bump in the night is something paranormal. Just like you were saying about demonic things, and it needs to be stopped.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, I've got people coming up to me and like, hey, you're into the ghost setting stuff. Let me show you this orb that I got. And I'm not trying to be mean when I'm like, I try to explain it to them. Like, it could be dust. It could be bugs. It could be, your camera, the shutter is not opening and closing correctly. It's like depending on what camera you're using, whatever. It could be lens flare, and that's the thing is people don't, and this is, and I might get backlash for this, but people don't take the time to really sit down and think about what they're saying and showing people or looking at the evidence correctly before they're actually calling it evidence.
Yep.
Exactly.
They don't take the time to do that. They want something to be haunted so bad that they're willing to take anything. And even if it's not really evidence and it can be disproven, so that to me, that is, I think, neglecting the claims of what people are experiencing through witnesses.
Exactly.
Things. And I, to be honest with you, I think when people are doing that, I think it's a slap in the face to people who are truly real paranormal investigators who are really working hard and trying to get evidence, real evidence.
Yes.
For people who think that they're crazy in their home and they're having these experiences and they're having these, issues and they're saying, what if it's this? What if it's this? And really, when we can go in and say, oh, you're high EMF, it's because you have a live wire behind the wall and it's right next to the head of your bed and you've been sleeping forever.
Yep.
Yeah, because, I have said this, that when you do, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because you do this, if you do residential clients and business clients, you yourself are like a contractor. You have to know how furnaces work and how the pipes react. You got to be a carpenter. If you hear something is scratching on the wall, well, I just found out it was a mouse. So it's one of those things. You have to really know what you're doing.
Yep. And it's like, if you don't really know exactly, you can find somebody who knows what they're doing.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's the thing where I'm like, use your mind, use your brain, and I'm not trying to be mean. I think a lot of people, when they come to me and they show me this stuff, and I'm not trying to be mean when I say stuff like that, but it's like, common sense is a big thing in this field.
Yes.
Right? And if you don't take the time to really dig deep and to say, hey, what is normal before paranormal, you got an issue.
Right.
You probably shouldn't be working in this field unless you're trained properly.
Exactly.
That's just how I see it. And I think that's one of the reasons why, we wanted to do, to open this up and to start, once the book is written, we're going to be teaching classes. And it's more of just like a little field guide. It's nothing like too extensive into parapsychology, because that would be for the average person who's just learning ghost hunting. Yes, they do need to know the basics and the general things. I mean, we don't want to get too far deep down the rabbit hole, but at the same time, it's like, that's something that they can always come back and learn more,
Exactly.
But we do want to kind of instill into people, is this actually evidence? What does a bug look like on the infrared camera?
That's right.
What does dust, or what does a, I don't know, whatever, a spider web or whatever. What does that look like on an infrared camera? What does, slow shutter look like on an infrared camera? Or not just infrared, but, you know what I mean? Just a regular camera, like 33 millimeter, whatever, So it's just one of those things that, like, we're trying to really instill into people what is real evidence, what is not real evidence. How do you approach people? How do you work with people? Because you're going into their home.
Yeah,
that's right.
And we need to be respectful of them and not come in and think, tell everybody, oh, we know everything. But at the same time, you still want to educate, because there is a lot of people who don't know and they don't understand, especially the average person who's not into ghost hunting. They don't know what it is, and so that's why they're calling you in the first place. But if you don't know what it is, then how are you supposed to help them?
Exactly.
And so, we're really just trying to kind of just instill into people who want to learn. And that's what these classes are going to be, for people who want to learn. If everybody is going to be like, oh, I'm going to pay this money, and then I'm still going to say that, a ghost orb, is a ghost when it's really dust or whatever. But it's like, I don't know what to tell you, because it's, you can still take the classes, but I don't know what, how to kind of.
Yeah.
But you know the difference between orbs. So that there's dust, pollen, moisture, all that. But we do know that there is an actual orb that is self-illuminating.
Yes.
So what you're doing is fantastic, because you can pull up slides on the internet of dust and pollen and all that, and teaching people that a piece of dust that is moving through the air, the slightest of air current is going to make it whip and whirl and all that, like it's on a mission. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, especially if you have a fan on or your air conditioner kicks on, you're going to have that.
Yeah.
And that's why anytime somebody shows me, like a client, like, hey, can you see this? I think that my house is haunted. Well, what experiences are you having? Well, it's just this. So I'm like, okay, well, was the air conditioner on? Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. See, those are the types of things,
Yeah.
You get people calling you for the littlest things, and you're kind of like, well, let me just explain something just real quick to you.
And this is probably because they watch the shows, the ghost shows on TV, and
And it's a shame. That's where it all originated from. That, once Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and whatever shows were out before that, everyone was like, that's it. We're going to do the same thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, when I was young too, I didn't know the difference until I picked up the books, and I picked up, it was mainly the parapsychology books, real ghost hunting books, not books that have just ghost stories in it and be like, oh, this is what I experienced while I was ghost hunting. No, I'm talking about textbooks, things like parapsychology textbooks and different things like that. Because when you take a lot of classes, they don't teach you things like that. I don't know how many times that I've tried taking, ghost hunting 101 classes and stuff, and they don't really teach you anything.
No.
You would definitely want to take places like the Rhine, some of the places that really kind of get into what hauntings really are, what ghosts really are, what psi is, because you have to know about telepathy. You have to know about those things in order to really understand about how ghosts are working, and how, what's a residual haunting, what's the difference between a residual and an intelligent haunting.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, or even what are those, oh my gosh, my mind just stopped there for a second. But the, like you have crisis apparitions. Sorry, that's what I was trying to look at. So crisis apparitions, right before somebody's about to pass, you have somebody who's still alive, but then they're showing themselves as a child from way back when down the street at their old home where they used to, live when they grew up. So you have apparitions that just kind of show up when somebody's still alive, and because they're going through a crisis. And so that psychic energy is being transferred, and you're seeing that.
Sure.
And so you have weird things that happen, according to Lloyd Auerbach, we were talking about how, he's seen ghosts in different stages of their life. It's just the way that you're seeing that spirit, way that you're perceiving those telepathic thoughts. And so it could be multiple things. So, you're thinking, oh, well, there's a little girl here too, but it could have been the same spirit, just in a different form.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to really investigate and know kind of how you're investigating, and what to do. So, but, we really definitely want to try to help people, and also help other ghost hunters, who don't know.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think that's a cool thing that you're doing.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of it was because, it's like when I was a kid, like, oh my gosh, it was like my dream to be a TAPS member. I was like, I want to go work for Jason and Grant, and I want to be the best TAPS member there could ever be, when I was a kid. I was that's because that was just something, when I grew up, that was my thing.
Yeah. And
now it's more of like, I just want to just help people. That's all I really care about. But it's funny because when I went to go talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, well, we don't train. And I was like, well, that sucks,
Yeah.
You guys should train. You guys are some of the best, supposedly the best, teens out there. You should be training.
Right.
Well, that's true. But here's the thing. A lot of people, like when I got into it, I had a specific reason, because I had a thing that happened, and I decided to go on a journey, which lasted my entire life. But in that journey, I didn't know what a millimeter did. I had to get the millimeter because I heard tons of conflicting things. So you get the millimeter, you see how it works, what makes it work. You know what I mean? What makes it tick. And I think what you're doing, I think that's great, because we do need a ghost hunting 101 thing to get this ball rolling. It doesn't matter if somebody wants to be a paranormal investigator. I think that's great. But I do think that, like you say, we need to have schooled people that understand what the electronics do, so that you can utilize it.
Yeah, and it's like, how many times? Okay, so I worked for a ghost tour for a while, and I loved that tour. It was just an amazing tour. I worked for Chattanooga Ghost Tours, and we did I led the ghost hunt. And I don't know how many times I've seen people who are like, yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, but they're taking their K2 meters and they're holding it next to their phone.
Right.
I'm like, you're going to get a false reading. It's really, what is electromagnetic field? How does that electromagnetic field actually work? What is a geomagnetic field? What is, how does all of this play in together?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or how to use a tri-field meter appropriately. A lot of people, I've seen people on television shows where they're taking a tri-field meter and they're walking around with it. And I'm like,
I don't even think, do most people even use a tri-field meter anymore? I think now it's everything with lights and beeping sounds.
Right. And your tri-field is probably going to be the most accurate, you know, even more than a millimeter, I think. But that's the thing is, you know, a lot of people don't know that. You know, a lot of people don't even know how to use them properly. You know, and it's almost like you have to sit it down.
Right.
You know, and it's okay. I mean, it's okay that they don't know, but it's you know, when you're going into someone's home and you're investigating, you want to be professional, even though they might not catch that you didn't do that right. It's like, I still caught that. So it's like, I'm still watching that. I'm like, okay, we got to be professional. So let me teach you how to use this real fast, you know? So, and it's not because I'm trying to be rude and I'm not trying to be, you know, I mean, and there's things that I still don't know and I still, you know, am learning. And so it's like, you know, a lot of people like my sister, God love her. She's always one of those that's like, well, you don't know everything either. And I'm like, well, no, I don't. I said, but what I do know, I want to instill into others what I already know. I was like, and we're all going to learn together on our journey, and we're all gonna, you know, try to move forward. You know, and I want the paranormal field, or the people that either work under me or have learned under me. I want them to know what they're doing.
Yes.
You know, because that's a reflection on you as a person as well.
Absolutely, yes.
That is true. You're very passionate about this. I like that.
Oh, I am. I'm very, I absolutely love it. You know, and that's the thing. And another thing too, you know, it's like I run a tight ship. You know, when I'm doing investigations, it's, you know, I want to make sure everything is done properly. I have certain steps and things that we have to follow. I mean, obviously you can't follow everything correctly because every case is different, you know, but you know, when it comes to like the baseline sweep and it comes to certain things, like I have paperwork. You know, where were you at this particular time? What room were you in? You know, where was, you know, what are the witnesses' testimonies in this? You know, it's like, I want everything filled out correctly and I want everything, you know, done step by step in an orderly process. So that way, when we are doing the investigation, we can kind of go in and be like, hey, oh, okay, so this is what they were experiencing in this room. And this has already been debunked. We don't have to worry about going back and trying to figure that out again.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of cuts the, you know, time and energy and everything else. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I want everybody to, that, you know, works with me to know it's like, I don't play around either. You know, I am very strict in the things that I do, but also at the same time, it's like, I still have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still like to have fun. We went to Old South Pittsburgh. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. My buddy Jason and one of his friends, me and my other friend Lori, we were walking down the hallway, and I don't know, I was just sitting there, and it's pitch dark. You know, you can't see your hand in front of your face barely.
Yeah.
I shined my flashlight, and we just see this, like right down the hall, we just see this wheelchair just going by itself just across the hall. And Lori jumped behind me. She's like, "Did you just see that?" I was like, "There's got to be a logical explanation for this." Like, wheelchair is just not just going to roll down the hall. Well, we come and find out it was Jason and his friend trying to mess with us.
Yeah.
So, you know, we play tricks on each other too, you know, so we still have fun, you know, but it's just more of just, you know, still having fun in places we need to have fun, but also kind of like, you know, like businesses and homes and stuff. We want to be professional.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, it's a, I don't know. I think that the paranormal field can be very intense, but also it can be fun, and it can, you know, kind of really, I mean, it can kind of, sometimes, you know, it can kind of take your energy too. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know, you can be exhausted by the end of the night. This one time we were doing a home investigation, and I can't say too much because it's non-disclosure, but all I can say is after the investigation, something attacked me and my friend, and I had scratches, and he had scratches, and it was just a bad situation. But we get out of there, and our entire bodies were so sore for like 2 or 3 days after. It was horrible.
Dang.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, because it felt like this surge of energy just went right through us.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can have moments like that where you're like, man, this is rough. Is it going to be like this every time? You know, but it's not, you know, and you'll have, sometimes you have spirits that are fun, and other times you have spirits that are just don't want anything to do with you. They're just like, go away. I don't talk to you.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. And it's like Ronnie says, you know, if a spirit wants to, if they want to show themselves to you, they will.
Yeah. That is true.
Because the same way that we can feel their energy, they can feel ours.
Yeah.
You know, and if they don't like you, they don't want to share themselves with you, they're not going to.
Right.
Well, that's the thing, too. He's like, you have ghosts who are, like, you know, the malevolent ones are the ones that are just kind of jerks. You know, if they were a jerk in life, they're going to be a jerk when they die.
Exactly.
You know? So, and you know, in death. So it's one of those things that, you know, that's why I always tell people to respect them, because they're still people. They just don't have a body.
Yeah, they don't have their bodies anymore, but they're still the same. That always fascinates me, the way that they will take their personalities with them to the other side, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It is, and I absolutely love it. And I think that, you know, I've actually had, it's funny because I had this little, I had a little bit of a spirit attachment there for a while. The place that I worked in Chattanooga Ghost Tours, we had a little spirit named Rabbit. And well, that's what we called him, was Rabbit. And I don't know if he remembered his real name or not. He was he was a 5-year-old boy. And I was kind of eerie about that at first, because I was like, you know, some children's spirits you got to watch out for, because they might not always be children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was a child, and I mean, this little child, I mean, he had a burned face. I did actually see him one time. He had a burned face, and he kind of peeks around the trees and would watch you, but he would follow me around. Just follow me around everywhere I went. And there'd be times on the other investigations, you know, or just playing around, and like, he'd show up, and I'm like, Rabbit, you cannot be here. We're trying to make sure the house isn't haunted. We don't need you to haunt it.
Right.
You know, so there, you know, we finally kind of detached. We got that detached and taken care of. But, you know, it's just, sometimes you take stuff home with you.
Yes.
Even when you're not trying to. Even when I've had times where I'm like, serious. I'm like, you can't follow me home. We sage, we do holy water, we do the oils and prayers and whatever else, you know, and there's been times that they'll still attach to you.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. And so that's another thing that people need to be wary of. It's like, if you're going to get into this, you got to know what you're getting into. You know, you can bring a spirit home with you, which for me, it's not too bad, because I mean, I collect haunted objects. So I've had probably about 9 spirits in my house right now. So, you know, but I don't ever get anything that's negative. Now one I did get was, I had these baskets that are, they're sewing baskets, and it's actually from a really well-known murder case. I think her name is like Helena Canab or something. I can't exactly pronounce the name. But she had these sewing baskets, and she was murdered. Her throat was cut. And not only did she come with the baskets, but also her murderer. So
Dang.
I have to make sure, yes. And he pushes people. He's kind of rude. You can hear him cussing. You can hear him, like, sometimes you can hear him like breathing in your ear. Yeah. So I have to keep these things blessed. So.
Well, that sucks for her, that he's still, that the person that murdered her is right there too. Like that, yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's very sad. And she does try to communicate. She does try to tell us who murdered her. But it's almost like right when we're about to get it, it's like activity starts ramping up and something happens.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
and
probably
so
him
it's
doing
like,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And so, you know, it's really just trying to, now it's like, you know, you have to know that you're going to get in cases like that. You're going to get into cases where it's like, do I have a haunted object, or is the house haunted, or is a person haunted?
Yep.
You know, and so that's where it's kind of hard, because it's like, if it's an object, it quite literally could be anything. So that's, you know, and mainly where the activity surrounds, but sometimes it's about narrowing that down.
Yeah.
Too, you know.
Like, when did this start? Did you bring anything new? Did you go shopping? Did you go to a thrift store?
Well, right. Yeah, it's just the same with, not all spirits are, you know, evil and demonic. In fact, that's extremely rare. It's, you know, spirits have a bad day too.
Yes.
Yep. Sometimes they just have a bad temper.
That's right.
And maybe sometimes their stories are not getting told correctly.
Yes.
And it pisses them off too. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
Yeah, I mean, so how many times have we been telling the story and then the ghosts are just probably like,
Yeah.
seriously? Like,
I literally witnessed that at Waverly Hills back in 2019. A guide was telling one of the spirit stories, and he appeared behind him looking pissed off as hell and like kind of made a scene really and took off through me and my friend that I was there with and disappeared. But like a lot of people got upset when that happened. I was excited because I literally witnessed that, but some of the people, the professionals with their big teams and their matching T-shirts, like got really upset. One girl had to be walked out. I was like, "Is this not why we come here?" But, but yeah, he was upset that his story was not being told correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed too that a lot of spirits just want their story told. That's it.
Right.
And and sometimes they just move on after that. I've had ghosts just move on. I felt really bad because when I was working at the tour, I had a couple of spirits leave after their stories were told.
Well, sure. I mean,
it's like I can't do it. I've had people who are like, well, you're working on a tour. You should probably try your best to keep the spirits there. I'm like, they can do whatever they want. Like, what am I supposed to do about that?
You're gonna put us out of business, girl.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what? I just think it's kind of funny because it's like how do you you can't control a spirit. You can't make them do whatever. I mean, the best thing you could do is probably bless the home and to keep something out.
Yeah.
But, they could still be lingering around outside your property. You can't, what are you supposed to do, really?
Yep.
So, and that's another thing I always tell people, they're like, can you get rid of it? Can you get rid of it for us? And I'm like, I cannot guarantee to get rid or to keep anything.
Right. I
cannot tell you one way or another, what's going to happen. All I can say is I can help you to my best of my ability.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
you can't make any promises.
Yeah, and
sure.
saging doesn't always work. Saging sometimes make it worse.
I know. There's been times that we've walked out of places where we've had to been saged like 15 times.
Yeah.
Because something was still like lingering.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's just kind of funny how people assume that because you're a ghost hunter, you can get rid of something or you can call in their grandma. And I'm like, I'm not a medium. So,
right.
I don't know. I don't know what you want me to do on that, but it's like, I can tell you, if you have, something else going on in your home, is it paranormal or is it normal? I can't really guarantee that I'm going to get rid of anything for you, but I definitely know, yes, we do house blessings. We do property blessings if that's the case, and we try to keep it diverse too. We try to, do it's like whatever, that person's, religion is. So if it's a religion that we're not really, aware of how to do the blessings or the whatever, we'll call somebody who is, who is aware of how to do it.
Right.
And so, because we're trying to make you as comfortable in your home as possible.
Exactly.
So, and that's the thing. I think that a lot of people, they automatically assume like the worst, when their house is haunted or, something. They think, well, this person's going to come in and they're going to do whatever they want to do in their way. But it's like, if you're professional, you could, you do it the way that they want you to do it, really.
Right.
So, but I just think it's kind of neat. And I appreciate that it's, people can, open their doors to you.
Yeah.
They're welcoming you, welcoming you into their homes, and they're really trying to get help, but it's like, oh well, I feel blessed that like you chose us, out of all the other teams that are out there.
Exactly. And like Todd has said before, that you have a huge responsibility when you're going into someone's home or business that way, because you can't just go in there and say, well, we think you have a demon, or, because that's going to psychologically mess with someone's head.
Right.
You can't go in and say these things to these people who aren't like-minded like we are, So,
and a lot of them do that. I've had to clean up after paranormal investigators quite often, because they go in and they tell them that their house is evil, and really it could just be the mouse in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so, you know, I've had I think a couple of times there was actually a case of, well, we're working on a case right now that we're not sure exactly what it is, but it didn't want the house to be blessed. I remember something was grabbing a hold of my buddy Jason, and I got some holy water, and it was like, you know, the ovilus. We use the ovilus every once in a while because every once in a while, I don't really like to use it too much because, you know, you don't want to rely on something like that, right?
Oh, sure.
But we do use it every once in a while because you're looking for patterns too.
Yes.
You know, if anybody's listening, you know, look for patterns when you're using stuff like that, because sometimes stuff will just kind of be random. But it has been quite helpful with some things, and it has matched. If it doesn't match up with history or facts, probably I would throw it out.
Yeah.
But you know, we had the obelisk when we just had it on, and when I went to go spray him with the holy water, it kept saying, wait. And then I blessed the place, and it felt 10 times lighter in there. And everybody, even the clients, were like, "Wow, it feels different in here." I'm like, "Yeah." And then the obelisk kept going off. It's like, "Let me in. Can I come inside?" I was like, "No." And you know, it was just kind of weird because it was like we didn't know if it was like, is it demonic? Is it like a trickster spirit? Is it something just trying to mess with you? Because sometimes you might just have a spirit that is a trickster and wants to trick you into thinking that it's evil, wants to trick you into thinking that it's demonic, and it's really not.
Yes.
You know, it's all about manipulation. He could have been a narcissist in his lifetime.
Right.
Exactly.
You never know. And so that's where it's kind of hard, where it's like, okay, is it demonic? Is it stuff? But then there's also telltale signs. You know, are they having an aversion to religious objects? Is there, you know, the smell of sulfur or something decaying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or, you know, are you having, you know, do you have that feeling of dread and depression out of nowhere? You know, there's certain signs you need to be looking for, which of course I'm not going to get into everything, but you have to look for those things.
Yeah.
You can't just automatically assume like, oh, it's just, you got a demon, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
When it might not be. Now there was a place an investigation that we did, which is also non-disclosure. Most of our home investigations are. But,
sure. Yes.
You know, where when we started, I mean, it was perfect for a demonic infestation, and the type of home and you know, which I'm not going to say, just the way that they were living. But you know, we found out this little girl was playing with Ouija boards, didn't know what she was doing, and I think that if Ouija boards would be okay if you know how to use them properly, and you know how to cleanse your energy space afterwards.
Yeah. But
you have a child who is innocent, who doesn't know what they're doing, and they're just playing around and getting to connecting with anything. You know, that's like a field day for a demonic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we had this person, you know, this little girl playing with a Ouija board and not knowing what she's doing. And when we got to go bless the property, you know, there was growling and we got scratched. There was a lot of stuff. We kept smelling like something like dead, pretty much. And it was just really bad. And so, you know, we were lucky because I was like, I don't know if we're going to have to call a priest. I don't know what we're going to have to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, obviously it wasn't too bad because, you know, we don't even know, even to this day, I still don't even know if I can actually say that was demonic.
Right. Know? Yeah, sure.
So even though it had some signs, did it have everything? You know, we got rid of it pretty easily. They haven't had any issues since. So I don't know if we can actually say it was demonic. So I think that's where people need to kind of hold off and be like, okay, you really think about stuff before you say what it is.
Right.
But, you know, which I agree with you 100% with that, you know, and you're saying that, you know, people, they do that. You have teams that do go in saying that kind of stuff and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know, you know, it's like if everything's a demon, then something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And you know, I don't think there's anything, it's like, okay, like collaboration of potential evidence. I don't think there's anything wrong with collaborating with other teams that are trustworthy.
Right.
But have fun finding them.
And that's the hard part, though, too, because everybody investigates differently.
That's right.
So, and I think, too, another thing, people will show me some evidence that they got, and I sit there and I look at it and I'm like, they're like, what do you think it is? I'm like, I can't tell you what I think it is because I wasn't there. I did not investigate that. That's not my evidence. I cannot tell you what I think it is. Now, if you want me to come in and do an investigation, then I can kind of tell you what I think it might be.
Or if you tell them, they get mad because that's not the answer they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Most already have the answer in their head that they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part, because I've had some people send me photos of, so-called, dust orbs and videos of bugs. And I'm like, bugs will shine, like they will show up on the infrared. They like shine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right? People think it's an orb. I've had people tell me like, well, bugs aren't that bright. I'm like, on infrared camera they are, because it reflects off of them.
Yes. It's like rods. People see these rods. Oh, did you see this rod? When it's actually a bug in slow shutter speed or fast shutter speed.
Yeah.
You're like,
exactly.
No, that's.
I see this every day on kitty cam, honey.
Yeah. Yes, you do. Yes, so we have a cat cam.
Kitty cam.
And she can watch the critters outside.
Aww.
So you see that quite often.
Yeah.
See, hey, you know what? I would be willing to watch that 10 times more than somebody giving me a bug video.
Yes. Yes.
I'm willing to watch your kitty cam.
Yeah. I love it.
The only way out, if you if somebody comes at you with something like that, but they are open-minded, then it's good because you can explain what it is and how it gets that way. In fact, you can even show them examples online if they're willing to accept it. But a lot of them already have that in their head where they're going to be like, hey, no, this is what it is. It can't be that.
Right.
Then why ask?
Raining on my parade.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. You gotta, and this is where it bothers me, because I don't know how many times I've explained to certain people, like, that's a bug or that's dust. No, it's not. And I'm like, well, then, like you said, why are you asking? But then after a while, when they continue to do that, and I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. I just don't even try to argue anymore, because when it comes, sometimes they're not willing. You can only tell them so much. If somebody's not willing to learn, you can't teach them.
Exactly.
Yes. So.
Yeah, and that's where you gonna teach people the right ways to use equipment and stuff. People should not get upset about any of that, because there really needs to be that. I see it all the time. I see people using millimeters wrong and K2s wrong, and I mean even ghost boxes they use wrong, and I'm like, okay, how do you really screw that up? But they're not trained for it, and they get that audio pareidolia all the time.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So they think any word that's said is a spirit.
Yep.
So I think it's fantastic that you're going to do this. And that you're going to teach people how to properly do this and how to use the equipment and explain things to them. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, we're going to try our best. And that's the thing. I think that with us is, we're going to have it where, if people cannot come to us when we go to teach like the hands-on portion of it, we're going to have like videos of how to set up a REM pod, what the REM pod is, what it does, what all the different lights are for,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and so that way they can have videos so where that when they do buy that piece of equipment, or they can even ask us questions like, hey, I got this piece of equipment. Do you have it? Do you know how to use it? If we don't know how to use it, we'll figure it out.
Right?
That's the thing. We want to be able to not only learn together, but teach people and to help each other. We want to be able to have a community that is saying, hey, we do know what we're doing. We can't, if we're going to be in the paranormal field, or if anybody's going to be in the paranormal field, I think that everyone should know what they're doing and how to do it properly. And that way they're going to have more fun doing it.
Right.
Have more fun when they learn how to do it the right ways. And then they could be like, hey, if I want to go work for, become a TAPS family member, let's go do it this way, or whatever, and if they're doing it the proper ways, and then TAPS recognizes that, or if somebody else decided to be like, hey, I want to hire them, or, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. The only person I think I wouldn't work for is Zach Baggins because everything's a demon to him. So
Right. That's what's up.
You said it, not me. I have no qualms about Zach at all, but he's a businessman and he knows what sells.
Exactly.
And that's the thing it's funny because my buddy and I, we joke about this all the time. It's like, they're like, you can't stand Zach Baggins. It's like, it's not that I really can't stand him, but it's like, I don't like how he says everything's a demon or he gets possessed every time he's on TV.
Right.
I was like, but of course it's entertainment. I said, of course I'm still going to watch it. Of course I'm still going to watch the show.
I can't even get through one episode.
Yeah, I can't either.
It's hard. To me, I know this sounds really horrible, but to me, I'm like, it's such a trashy show, but I still love it. Like, but it's kind of funny though here, the more that I've been doing this on a level of the parapsychology kind of type level, I can't call myself a parapsychologist because there is no degrees in the United States, and this is what Lloyd Auerbach had said. He said, you can always call yourself an amateur parapsychologist when you have, a certificate in parapsychology. He said, because technically you are an amateur. He said, but he said, you can still charge because you've taken the classes. But I don't want to charge. I don't want to do all that. But
no, but
we were talking about.
There's nothing wrong with doing it to help people. Yeah. But you can work donations easily.
Yeah.
Hey, donate gas, make a donation to us if you want to. If not, that's fine too.
Exactly. And so it's like the more that I've studied in that type of field and kind of learn more about it, it's like the less and less I watch the television shows.
Right. Because now you know what's involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's so fake,
Yes.
I do understand. It's like, and you look at the stuff and you're like, and you hear them like, what was that? What was that noise? And then there's cameramen all around them walking around. It's like, of course they're making noise.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think that'll be excellent when you start eventually teaching people, because people need to realize that once you debunk everything and you still have that little 1%, only then can you start looking at plausible evidence.
Oh, yeah.
So if a ball moves by itself, one of those little cat light up balls, if one of them rolls by itself, everything needs to be debunked before you say it was a ghost. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I have seen things move and I'm like, hey, what was that and how did it do it? Until I could no longer figure it out. And I'm like, hey, this is definitely a plausible piece of evidence because I don't know what moved it.
Right, exactly. So it's like, if you've exhausted your efforts of trying to figure out what it is, personally, when I've exhausted my efforts, I get other people to come in and be like, what do you think? Is there something that I'm missing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they could do a whole nother thing and be like, oh, I didn't even think about, doing that particular, debunking it that particular way. So that's where it's like, you get other people to come in and help you debunk. If all efforts are completely exhausted, then then you can say, okay, that's noteworthy.
Right. Because once you have those other people and now you're all come to the same consensus, then it is very possible that could be paranormal. It's no different than an EVP. If you listen to an EVP and you're just unsure, but you write it down anyway and you say, hey, this is definitely what I hear. You let 3 other people hear it. And, 3 people say, hey, nah, this is what I hear. Then, now you have to keep reevaluating what you thought you heard. But if they all come to a consensus and say, oh, yeah, this is what I heard, and this person says the same thing, and this person, and they all match yours, and you didn't say nothing. So, yeah, I would say it's a pretty good, plausible piece of evidence then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you ask them, like, what do you think you hear? What do you think, what are you getting on that?
Right.
I've had people tell me that there's EVPs that they're hearing, and I'm like, I don't even hear anything at all.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I've had people, oh, look at this EVP that I got. And I'm like, what? Like,
exactly.
I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but, And that's the thing. Like, I've had people, say, "Oh, it's a Class A EVP," when you can barely hear it at all,
Right?
Or it's barely understandable. No, Class, A is like clear as day. Say there's a woman in there, and then you can hear a man talking, and there was no man
Exactly.
present.
Yes.
So that's like a Class A. You can hear it perfectly clear. Like, you can hear pronunciation, sounds, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where, that's another thing, people need to understand some of the definitions and the, the words and the things that, we're using,
Yes.
and a lot of people don't know what it is either. So, you ask them, certain questions about stuff, and they can't tell you. And so that's some of these things that, because you have some, and I always try to explain to people, you have some people who they want you to come and investigate. Some people have done their research. So they'll ask you some questions like, are you a good investigator? Do you know what you're doing? How long have you been doing this? And, and then they might ask you questions just to see if you are a good investigator.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so you have people who are like that. I've had people who are like, how long have you been investigating? Because I don't want you to make things worse. And I'm like, I've been doing this for however long or whatever, you kind of explain it to them. But, you have a lot of things that, like EVPs and things that a lot of people don't know, even how to isolate an EVP too.
Right.
That's another thing that needs to be taught. Because there's not a lot of people knows how to do that either.
And you do it frontwards and backwards.
Yes.
I have gotten many in reverse, and I'm like, I don't understand how it works, but I got this, and it's perfectly said. The wording is perfect.
Have you ever had EVPs in another language?
I have. Yes.
I have too. And that to me is so weird, because I remember this. So my mom lives in Hartford, in Tennessee. And a lot of that was Cherokee land at the time.
Yeah.
And we got this, I don't know if she was speaking Cherokee, but it was like a woman who, it sounded like Cherokee. And I'm guessing that's what it was. And I was like, I have no idea what this woman is saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, and that's where you have to kind of try to find somebody who knows that language to be like, what is this thing said? Like,
yeah. And that is absolutely true. I mean, I lived in Florida, and I did a spot of work over in Ybor City, and that's like, a little Havana, and
Mm-hmm.
and I got this EVP, and I couldn't hear it really well. I mean, it was there, but I mean, at that time I couldn't hear it well. And a friend of mine was like, well, that's Spanish. I'm like, oh, okay. So what are they saying? And they told me, and I was like, wow. So, and I had it verified by another, and that freaked me out. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing too is like, how do we know if some of the people that we're talking to, right? Say if you're investigating a house, and supposedly the house is haunted, and you've already said, okay, yeah, it's haunted, but and you get like a German couple passed away or something, and they're speaking German, and it's like, how do you know what I mean? You get it on the EVP or whatever. It's like, how do you even know if they even understand that what we're saying?
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
so
that's a good thought. Maybe they're hearing us, and well, then they start speaking in their language, like, hey, who are these people? You know what I mean?
But then my brain also thinks, well, maybe, because they're spirits and because of the whole telepathic communication thing, maybe they do understand us now.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they have a brain. They don't have to worry about trying to relearn anything.
Right.
So that's where my mind starts going and goes down those rabbit holes. But
yeah, these are things I think about at night when I can't sleep is, so we're going and we're having these experiences with these spirits or whatever, but how do we know that they're not experiencing us? Like, we're in their territory, and they're like just trying to do their thing, and they're experiencing us.
What do you mean, like a reversal?
Yeah, like a reverse thing. Like, we are their spirits. We're their ghosts. You know
oh my God, I've thought about that. I have thought about you and I have a similar thought process.
Yes.
I thought about that. I'm like,
girl,
what
I
about
stay up all night thinking about this shit sometimes.
It's the truth. Well, if you think about it, it's like, it's okay. So if it's like you're in a hospital and the hospital's abandoned, and you're getting this EVP, or you're trying to, talk to the spirit. But what if it's like in the 1950s, they're experiencing something that exactly like that. They're like, I just heard somebody say hello to me, and I don't know what's going on.
Right. And it looked like she was from the future.
Time loop or something.
Yeah, some kind of weird time warp like thing. Yeah, exactly. Like they're in the hospital. She's a nurse. She's just doing her job, doing her thing. And then suddenly they see us, and they're like, we're dressed like we're dressed now in this time. And so, yeah, I mean, I think about these things. We could be disturbing what they're doing, and, they're freaking out because of that. So yeah,
it does. It makes you wonder, because really think about it. It's all energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so energy can be manipulated. Now, it can't be destroyed or created and that kind of stuff, but it can be manipulated.
Exactly.
So if, are you still there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
we're here.
I couldn't hear you cut out there for a second. I was like, oh. So, if we're manipulating, they can manipulate energy. If that's the case, and spirits, can manipulate, like telepathy and telekinesis, they're moving things without a body, things like that. It makes me wonder what on the other side, what they can do more than that. Because that's just in our dimension. What happens if they're in a whole different dimension and they're experiencing different things? Can they see past, present, and future?
Right.
It's little things like that make me really think. Oh, there's dogs everywhere. Make me really think about, what is happening, what is going on their side.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's just so interesting to really think about. And a lot of people don't get into physics and things like that, but you have to kind of know a little bit about physics and, psychic abilities and things like that, to really investigate and to kind of understand. And, just like you said, Todd, you have to be kind of like a jack of all trades too. You have to know about the homes and, leaking and the pipes and the walls and the wiring and everything. And so it's a crazy, I think it's a crazy thing, because you never know if, like, is the house haunted or are we just crazy,
Right.
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 Or, because high EMFs can cause hallucinations, and not a lot of people know that either. So
that's right. And I have had that before, where I was in and towards a back room that was added on. It was high back there. And I told them, I said, I need you to call the electric company. They thought I was crazy. They're like, well, the electric company's not going to. I was like, call them and tell them to come out here and check your wiring. And that was the big part of the problem. They were like, oh my God, that's not how it should be.
Well, and that's another thing too, is like, when you're doing the baseline sweep and you're trying to get, check the EMF and all stuff. A lot of times, you turn the electricity off for a reason. You try to, you test it while it's on and off.
Yes.
Let's see, how high it is. Are you getting a natural EMF? Or are you getting something from the house or whatever building you're in? And so, when you're doing that, I've had places where they're like, well, we don't want you to turn the electricity off. It's like, okay, well, I can work around that, but I'm going to tell you, you're probably not going to get the best reading. And so it's hard, because it's like, if there is a high, issue, if you're having electrical issues, because I've had people tell me, I don't want to turn the electricity off because the house is old and we have electrical issues. Yeah. Well, and you're like, well, if you have electrical issues, you could be hallucinating, which I don't say that usually out loud at first, but you do have people who are like that, who really, dogs across the street barking, sorry. Who really just don't know about that side, and they don't know about, how electrical, can cause hallucinations, can cause issues. Really, it can make you feel like you're being touched, have your skin crawling, and you can lose your hair. There's all kinds of things that are like that. And so, it's really, really a bad situation when you go in there and they're like, well, I don't want you to turn the electricity off. I don't want you to do, any of that stuff. So it's like, it's kind of hard for me personally to try to work around that. But it's, that's why it's like, if you call me, I kind of need to be able to work.
Right.
Right. Gotta do what I gotta do, man.
Yeah. So, but we try to accommodate as much as we can, but but there's some reasons some people can't turn the electricity off. They have people who are sick in the home.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, stuff like that. Like my mom, like she's got cancer, so it's like we couldn't turn the electricity off with her because she has to have, her, her medicine and her like breathing stuff and all that. So,
machines and stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a lot of stuff like that, which is, okay. But, when you don't want to turn the electricity off just because you don't want to turn the air conditioner off. So, that could be.
Right.
Should be able to be worked around.
So, Alice, tell us, what do you have going on for the future? Like, I know we talked about some things, but where do you see your team or your paranormal investigatings going in the future?
Well, I think personally, what we want to do is, well, like I said, we're going to start off with, the teaching and things. And I think that, what we want to do with that is that we're going to offer people who, do take the classes, things like that, to be able to kind of branch off, to be a part of, another chapter of Sunset Paranormal, to be able to kind of put their roots out there. And just kind of be able to be like, hey, we are trained by these people. We've learned by these people. We can work for these people. We know that, they're doing well. And I just want to really be able to help people. I think that that's the biggest thing for us. Maybe make new chapters, maybe, kind of spread our wings a little bit.
Yeah.
But, we're not looking for a television show. We're not looking for, anything. I mean, if something like that came along, great. You know what I mean? Fun, awesome, cool, whatever. But we're not looking for that. We're not looking for fame and fortune. We're just trying to get our name out there enough to where, people are like, okay, you know what? These people know what they're doing. They're trying to help others. And that's really what we want, we want for other people.
And that is when you go to Paracons.
Yeah, I do. I like Paracons.
Because you're doing your thing and you're going out now to the play places, but you're going to socialize, you're going to meet others, you're going to get your team's name out there.
Yeah, get the word out.
That's what those places are for.
Yep.
Not to be, the next Zach or, try to be rich and famous. So,
and that's what I said. If that ever came along for anybody, that'd be great.
Sure.
And that's why people are like, oh, I want a TV show. I'm like, okay, well, you need to learn stuff first before you decide you want to go and just jump on a television show.
Right.
But, I think for us, I think that's really what we're looking for. We're just looking to teach. And, me personally, like, I taught about the Bible for, years and years and years before all of this. And I think my beliefs are a little bit different now than what, it was then. Because I kind of see things, I've questioned. And I think that's a lot of things. It's like, and now I'm more open to different religions and different aspects of things. And so, but, I've always had it in my heart just to be a teacher, and that to me is something that I love to do. I'm very passionate about that. And so I really think that that's just kind of a calling for me, is to teach others, to be there for others, to help other people, and really just to help as many people as I can.
Good.
Whether that be teaching ghost hunting or helping the people in their homes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. Alice, I'll tell you what, I had a wonderful time talking with you and getting to know you and how passionate you are for the field. And I really think that is going to be an integral part down the line where people are going to come to you and they're going to be like, hey, how do you use this thing? Can you teach us, give us the basic 101s, and then, you have your basic advanced and things like that. I think it's wonderful. And, I wish you nothing but the best. And I hope that,
I honestly hope that this is going to be something that can turn around the paranormal community and change it so that we don't have all these people out there, presenting fake evidence and demonizing everything. I really hope that what you're doing is going to make some changes in the paranormal community, because I'm a little disenchanted really by a lot of the stuff that goes on and all the drama and all that. So I think this is wonderful.
Just make sure to put it into their heads that, what they see on TV is completely different than how it really is.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's
like the first lesson. Yeah.
Yep. That's one of the things that we do. Actually, the team that I work for too, the other team that I work for, gosh, I do so much. So they get that ghost team. That's one of the things he's always saying. It's not as seen on TV. We don't. It's not television. And so he instills that into everybody. And and I think that I'm more of his voice of reason because I'm more into the science and things, and he's definitely the face of that. And so we kind of work really well together when it comes to that. It's like kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of type deal. But he's very much so about that. And so we work really well together in that because we have a lot of the same views with things, and we try to really teach people and to help people. But he's always telling me, he's like, you're my science person, so you got to explain this to them because you're going to explain it to them in a way that you're nice about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm trying,
Well, it's just like you took the opportunity to learn more about it. So you have that parapsychology certificate, which helped you immensely.
It did. And to be honest with you, my entire, I can't really call it a career because I'm not getting paid for it, but I guess my entire
journey
I literally have got to give Steve Gonzalez credit for this. And I tell you why. So when I met him, he was the one who was like, you need to go to Rhine. You need to learn this, and this is what you need to do. And he just took his time. I got to talk to him pretty much all day, and it was great. And when I met him, and he literally took the time to tell me where to go, what to do, how to put things together. So pretty much my entire journey is literally, I have got to give him credit for it.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, he's the coolest, sweetest dude. Yeah, right. He's the coolest, sweetest dude, and I appreciate him, and he will always be. I'm his number one fan.
Heck yeah, you go, girl.
Right, and I am, like I said, I see you doing this, and I hope that people are listening. They say, hey, you know what? If she can enhance her education into paranormal investigations, I can do that too. And they'll at least know who to reach out to and ask questions.
Yeah. And see, another thing that I would love to do is not only teach, things like this, but also I would love to try to talk to Board of Educations and try to actually get degrees back in the schools because we need that.
Yeah.
The United States needs that. We shouldn't have to go all the way to England, just to get a degree.
Exactly.
And, and that's where, the states need this. And especially the fact that the ghost hunting and the paranormal, it is, like you said, it's dying in the schools, like I was saying, but it's not dying. It is, everybody's interested in it right now.
But here's the thing. This is a big part of it. And I believe that this is why it's not talked about as much in schools and stuff anymore. Religion plays a huge part in the paranormal. And of course, most religions, they don't believe in ghosts, and they don't believe in, the dead coming back to life as a phantom specter or whatever you want to call it. So you have this, and they're saying if you dabble in this kind of stuff, that's all demonic. That's all demons, and you're a necromancer, and that is against all laws of the church.
Well, then I see it this way, and this is the thing that I always tell people, and it kind of shuts them up a lot. I'm like, okay, well, when Jesus is walking on water and Peter, said, they were saying, oh, it's a ghost, and they were scared of him. And Jesus even said, I'm not a ghost. But also Jesus in the Bible talks about how, he literally, when he talks about demons and casting demons out, he said the word demon. He was specific about the word demon.
Well, sure.
And so that's what I'm saying is that he also said ghosts. So if that's the case, then ghosts have to exist in some form.
Well, there's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Exactly.
But
so
you know, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
The book is basically a huge book of supernatural, paranormal, wizardry, witchcraft. It is all those things wrapped in animal sacrifice. It's all wrapped up into one book.
Right.
But see, religious people don't look at that book that way. When in actuality, when Moses threw the staff on the ground and it turned into a snake, that is now wizardry.
Right. But then also, too, you know, if we could talk to the Board of Education, we could talk to them, get them all together and whatever, and have some type of meeting with them and be like, look, you know, you guys are the ones who even said that we're not supposed to be, you know, discriminating against anybody's religious beliefs.
Right.
That's right.
You know, and so they should have to be able to bring that back, you know, against whatever else everybody else is, you know, whatever they're saying, you know, because if Christians don't want to be persecuted, then they don't need to be persecuting other religions.
Exactly. And they do.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude because I mean, I'm a Christian, you know, and I believe in God, but I also think that it's wrong for Christians to treat others in that way because of how we do things. You know, I got into this field because I'm a Christian, because I want to help people and to help if they have something demonic or if they had something malevolent in their homes, you know, I want to help people. I've had so many Christians tell me I'm going to hell because I've cast out demons. I'm like, how can you be a Christian and not cast out a demon? Because the Bible tells you to do that.
Well, because you're not a Catholic. See, if you was Catholic, then you could do it.
Right. So, well, according to Bishop Long, if you join the church that he has established, the old United States Catholic Church, or the United States Old Catholic Church, I can't remember exactly how it goes. It says supposedly they recognize you as a Catholic. I was like, well, good, because then I guess I'm Catholic. You know, so, and that's the thing, you know, and that's what I say. It's like, you know, the Board of Education needs to learn, like, we're not in the 50s anymore. You know, times are changing, things are evolving, you know, and I think that, you know, even the Wiccan religion was just now recognized. So, you know, as a religion. Mm-hmm. So people need to kind of stop trying to say everything is demonic and everything is evil when they really have no clue on what's going on. You know, they really have no clue. It's like if they actually took the time to really study what parapsychology is or what, you know, the afterlife is really about and things like that, maybe they'd have a more of a broader perspective and they'd be a little bit more open to knowing what it is and seeing how people can be passionate about this field.
Yes.
And so, and that's where I think that, you know, if I could possibly try to get to talk to people to try to get them to change their minds, I would do it. I don't care if I have to hound them to death. I would probably be one of those types of people. Like,
right.
I'm like, put it back in schools.
You know, if we could get rid of all the people that are out there for the likes, the follows, the ratings, if we could get rid of the ones out there faking evidence, if we could get rid of all the bullies and thugs, the paranormal bullies and thugs, you know, the paranormal field would would definitely be much better. But you know, the thing is we're never ever going to get rid of these people. And they're actually the ones that are pulling this field down worse and worse. Oh, yeah. I have a lot of friends that, especially Facebook friends, that are out there doing their thing. They're making videos, they're making movies, they're trying to get their name out there, but they're doing it legitimately. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to get back. That's why what you're doing is wonderful, because that is really going to make people start to go, hey, if I'm going to be taken serious, then I need to start doing serious.
Yes.
Right. But then you see the people who are the ones who are in it for the fame. You don't see them pursuing an academic career.
That's right.
You don't see them pursuing anything academic. I mean, really, it's all about who's going to be famous. It's like, it's almost like they don't even really care about the paranormal field. They just care about becoming famous.
Exactly.
Right.
They don't care about the spirit. They don't care. They don't even care about getting, evidence or research behind it.
That's right.
It's just like, oh, I got evidence. Now I can post it now people are going to love me.
Now, if you're going out there to validate claims for yourself, I think that's fantastic, because you're doing, there's a lot of people that do that. They're like, hey, I had this experience and I need to know what it is. And they go out and they're in pursuit of that. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think that's fine too. I think, but just like when you look at, like, if you look at my Facebook, which you guys are on my Facebook too. So, we're friends on Facebook.
Yes.
I don't post videos of evidence and things a lot. I every once in a while, if I get a cool EVP or something, I might throw that out there. I'm like, hey, this is kind of neat. Check this out. What do you guys think it is, or whatever. But you don't see me running around all these different places and have videos just being pumped out every 5 minutes.
Right.
And, gosh, I don't, that's just not, for one, because I'm not in it for that. And I have enough on my plate with people calling me. I get mostly home investigations.
Yes.
Or business locations. But you don't really see us going out to these places spending, bukus of money to get into. Like, every once in a while, we'll go to, like, Old South and just to say, is it, like, really haunted, or is a television lying to us?
Sure. There's nothing wrong with that.
And a lot of times, it's mainly to train other people who are joining our teams and things like that.
Yeah.
It's because it's in a known haunted location. So we're like, okay, if it's in a known haunted location, they're obviously making money. A lot of people are claiming it's haunted. Let's go here. Let's see how it is. And we can also train people while we're there.
Yes.
This is how you do. This is how you use a REM pod. This is how you whatever. Things like that. And so, we're not there for just the experiences and to have fun. I mean, yeah, we can have fun, just like when they're trying to pick us, and playing pranks and stuff, and that's fine too. But we have to learn, in the paranormal field, in the community, why we're doing this. Why are we doing this?
Exactly.
Right.
And it gets under my skin a lot when I see people who only post videos and everything's demonic and everything's scary and and then, oh, I got grabbed, and when they really didn't, and they're lying on the spirits and saying that this person was a bad spirit, and this is like, and they weren't bad at all.
Right.
And it's messing the history up. It's ruining not only the reputation of the spirits and the people who lived before, but they're also disrespecting the entire field.
Yes.
And that just really gets under my skin, and it really bothers me. So, I do care about the field. I do care about the spirits, and I do care about, just how people are being trained.
Yes.
So, and
where can people go to contact you to get this started? When are you going to be doing all this?
Yeah. I didn't even say about that.
So I will post it on my website, and it's just sunsetparanormal.com.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So it will be posted on my website, and then we'll share it on our page, on our Facebook page, because it's Sunset Paranormal. And then, they can either email us, or they can call us if they have any other, issues. But yeah, it'll be posted on there, and then there'll be a link on there to where they can click the link and then purchase the classes.
Okay. Awesome.
And you guys looking for team members right now too? We
are looking for team members. Because there's going to be times that, that I'm going to be working with the other team up there in Nashville, and I'm not going to be able to cover certain areas.
Sure.
Because I get people calling me from, like, Memphis and, like, Illinois and, like, Illinois is like, we got people calling us from all over, and there's not a lot of places. So it's like, this would be perfect, to be able to have new chapters, to be able to open up things, and if we're working on a case, somewhere else, and I'm working with the other team, I have to have people leading my team.
Yeah.
And so, I got to have that. And I think, we're looking for that. And I've had a lot of people there, and this is where it's been hard to find team members, because some of the team members, they're like, yeah, let's do this. And they know what it's about. But then you have some people who think, oh, well, it's a paid position. And I'm like, you don't get paid for this kind of work. This is volunteer work.
Right.
Right.
This is a paranormal field. We don't get paid for it.
Yeah, you're not going to get rich and famous being a paranormal investigator.
How do you get paid in a fringe science, If you could prove it, then, yeah, you could, be like, anyone that performs a service. But this one's a little different.
Right. But, we make our money other ways. We go to Paracons.
That's right.
Sell things and do events, things like that. Have fun with it. But
yes,
and that's another thing. Like, I can sell my book.
Yes,
that's another way we can make money to be able to go and fund these investigations and things like that. Which is another thing too. Is like when I do set up the classes, I will, my book is going to be included in the purchase price. So that way they don't have to worry about paying for the book, and that will come with it as well.
Yeah.
So which it helps too, because they're going to be like, what is all this? It is very informative. There is not a lot of joking and, having fun in the book. It's more of a textbook kind of type version.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a very long book, but it's just going to definitely cover the basics on everything and how it's going to, how do we do a baseline sweep? What are the different types of spirits? Human, non-human, malevolent, just kind of breaking down definitions and things. What's the difference between class A, B, and C, EVPs and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a lot of different kind of things that I'm writing about, but I want to teach that others can kind of learn and, how to use the equipment, what types of different equipment there are, things like that.
So now you got to get all this written down and get it organized and get her done, girl.
I know, and it's funny. It's funny because last time I think I was telling you, Todd, too, is that I was writing the book, and I was like, I've got like 16 pages written. I still only have 16 pages written, so we're still working on it.
Girl, I've been writing a book for over a decade that I need to get finished, so I feel you.
Yeah, it is a process for sure.
Yes, it is.
Well, Alice, I thank you very much for being on our show. I had a wonderful time talking to you.
Yes.
And thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're definitely going to have you on again to tell us more about what it is that you're doing.
Yeah,
and
when
your
books
and your
published
books
and all that.
Yeah, so we definitely want to keep touch so that we can have you back on and see exactly how you're heading in the right direction.
Awesome. Yes, I would love to come back on and we'll talk more, and maybe we'll have some more stories to tell too. Hopefully.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right.
All right.
Awesome, girl.
Thank you, Alice, so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Bye-bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in with us tonight, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow to receive notifications when new content from Paranomaly Podcast is made available. If you believe you have something paranormal happening in your home or business, or you believe you may have witnessed a UFO or UAP, please send us your story, your photos, videos, questions, suggestions, and your comments to paranomalypodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit us at www.paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. Hey, thanks again for watching and listening, and I hope that you tune in for next week's episode of Paranomaly. Hey, a word of caution. Paranomaly Podcast and its affiliates or hosts do not verify or check the validity of any person, team, or its members. Paranomaly Podcast highly advises that you proceed with caution when contacting any person or team before allowing them and having them into your home or business. A legit paranormal research and investigation team will never charge you a fee to investigate your home or business. They do, however, accept donations to help further the research and investigations if you so choose to do so. All right, thanks everybody.